Hello, welcome back. In the previous video in this playlist, I gave you some tips that I use to take night shots through thick glass, especially on a high floor. Different tips depending on if you want to change the composition, depending on how the light's refracting, and that was specifically at night. We can try the same tips during the day, and that's what this video is all about. So give it a look. It's fairly short. Give the tips a try and see what works best for you. Probably goes without saying at this point, but I'm going to say it anyway. Let's get it. During the day, we have a similar problem with reflection on the glass. Things behind me, like the curtains and the chair, I don't think you can see them in the video. Those things close to the glass will have the strongest reflection that will show up in your shot. You can try the same techniques. You can take your camera and put it flat up against the glass, and that will take those reflections out of the equation. The problem with that is that's probably not the composition, or may not be the composition you want. For instance, I like the leading lines of the street with a monorail on it going towards the Space Needle. And I want to capture those leading lines going into my shot. I don't want to be flush up against my glass like this. I want to be at an angle, which is, this glass is going to cause me more problems at the angle because of the way it's refracting the light. And for your reference, you can probably tell this, but the sun is off to, what is that, my 11 o'clock? Maybe 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. The sun is off to my left. So that light is working out nicely for how I want to shoot off to my right. But this glass is going to be a problem. So there's a couple things I can try. I can try my coat trick. So let me grab my coat. And this is the tip I got from watching Gavin Hoey's video. So basically, I'm just going to put the coat over my head and give that a shot. Get the composition I want. Cool. So with coat, and let's just do one without coat so you can see the difference. Cool, so with coat and without coat. So I can try my coat trick, but I can also try something else. I can do a polarizer. And what a polarizer does is it basically puts light sunglasses on top of your lens. That's useful because it helps cut plain polarized light. Lots of science, but the main thing that you want to think about with that is that anything that the refracted light gives the camera trouble, the polarizer will help deal with that refracted light. So it's useful for when you're shooting at maybe fish when the light is being refracted off the water. It's also useful on glass when the light is being refracted. So you can try using a polarizer. So let's give that a shot now and see what we get. To do that, I have to know where the hell I put my polarizer. So give me a moment. Cool, so the polarizer I'm using, you can use whichever one you want. I have a Marami DHG circular polarizer. Wasn't the cheapest polarizer in the world, but I tend not to buy cheap gear because if I'm going to spend money on it, I have a very specific use for it, and you can spend that money twice. Like you buy the cheap thing, it doesn't quite do what you want it to do, and then you buy the thing that actually does what you want it to do and has the build quality that you want it to have. The camera's not cheap, so it's kind of like the combination of you could buy a Ferrari and put Costco tires on it, but you probably don't really want to do that. You probably want something not a Ferrari if you want to spend that on the tires. Anyway, you get the idea. Let's try it with my circular polarizer. So I'm using the 2470, which means I need an 82 millimeter, and I can tell that by looking at the camera, and on the front it says 82 millimeters, so that's the size that I need. There's lots of different styles of polarizers. I have the Lee kit, which allows you to get like the planes that slide in. In this particular case, I bought this before I had the Lee kit, so this is a screw-on polarizer. The not so nice thing about it is it's very specific for the size of lenses. Unfortunately, lens diameters and circumferences, of course, change. So you'd have to buy one of these for each lens, and that's can get quite expensive quite quickly. Cool. So I've got my polarizer on. Now it's, as I mentioned, it's basically like putting polarized sunglasses on. And in this case, you're going to lose some light. And so I'm going to have to wiggle with a few settings to get that to work out. And we'll see what that looks like. So same composition, no coat. So I really like it with my polarizer and no coat. I think ultimately the combination that would work the best is my polarizer and coat. Okay, so I'm gonna take my tripod and shoot a couple more of these. I'm still going to do my naughty window thing because that's ultimately going to give me the best shot. But those are some things you can try to get a cleaner shot when you've got these awful reflections in the day. See which one works out best for you and let me know in the comments.